So how do we know it started?
How do we? Yeah, I was gonna say, how do I know it's on?
You're on.
He said,
No.
Oh gosh. Hello
Oh,
everyone.
we're on in front of people. Oh, hello. Okay, we're on.
Lord. We
Woo!
apologize, y'all. This has been a
Jesus.
ride. We apologize.
And
Please
a
tell your
half.
friends that we are on. Thank you for
We
riding
are
with
on.
us.
I'm about
It's
to do a whole entire video.
we
Woo!
are
We're
we are
live.
we
Jesus.
are way later than we wanted to be, but thank you so much for staying on. And we are officially about to start. Jesus loves sex too.
Yes,
Get
we're
excited.
on, y'all. All right.
Oh my. All right. I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited. So, good morning. We have
Woo.
15, well, less than 15 minutes left for the morning. So, good morning. Thank you for coming. We just want to get right into it. So, I want to introduce myself. As some of you
Yes.
know, I'm Janelle. Some of you may know me as Jay. Jay is the beginning of my name. And I am the host of, and with Tracy is the host of Life with Trey and Jay. It's a
Yeah.
web series and a podcast, which is something that we started recently. And I just want to just tell you a little bit of how Tracy and I met. So, because some people ask, like, how did we meet? So, here you go. Tracy and I did not meet each other when we were like 2 and 3. Some people think so. We met just 5 years ago. We just met just 5 years ago during a class from Momentum Education. We took a class together because we wanted to better ourselves. And during that 90-day process, it was 90 days, there was 40 something people in the class, but her and I just became very tight. We have a few other friends that we're close with, but Tracy and I is just like obviously tight, right? And so we decided to start this journey together because Trey got saved and I have been saved since about 25 years old. I got serious about God, and we decided to share our story and our lives with everyone. And this is where we are today. It's been how long? We actually officially started at the ending of 2016, and it's been almost 4 years. Can't believe it. Almost four
Yeah.
years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for riding
Crazy.
with us. Those who have been here from the beginning, and those who are just getting introduced to us, thank you. And with that being said, this is Trey. Hey, girl.
Yo, what's up? Good morning. Are we still in morning? Yes, we're still in morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy. You guys can also call me Trey. And so I just want to start off with the reason why we even decided to do this, right? So personally, I thought my life would go like, you fall in love with somebody and then you guys have sex because you have sex with your man, right? And then you guys have children because like y'all have sex. And then unfortunately I didn't realize that, and then after that you find Jesus. But then in my mind I didn't necessarily know that there was any type of order to things. And the only reason why I didn't know that was because I thought it was fall in love, have sex, here goes your children. And then you find Jesus because, you want to make sure that your kids are raised like to be good people,
Right.
right? And so I want to start off with doing a little exercise with you guys. And so I'm going to ask you guys not to raise your hand. So don't say anything, like don't say anything in the chat or anything like that. It's just simply an exercise for y'all. Okay. So you can close your eyes if you want. You don't have to. But the question is to raise your heart, not your hand. Okay. So raise your heart if you've experienced an issue with masturbation. Raise your heart, not your hand, if you've watched porn. Raise your heart and not your hand if you feel like um, celibacy should equate to masturbation because it's solo. Also, we have three more. Raise your heart, not your hand, if you've been single for a while and you're ready for a relationship. Raise your heart and not your hand if you ignore red flags because you want what you want. Raise your heart, not your hand, if you believe that God owes you something because you're a virgin. And now you guys can open your eyes if you closed your eyes, or you can just, continue to look on. But I feel like somehow we can all relate to some of those statements, whether there's, confusion on our relationship with the Lord. If there's any level of confusion on our relationship with love, what does that look like? And also our ideas and ideals around sex. And so with that being said, I'm going to transfer it over to Janelle, and she's going to give you guys a little intro on our speakers for today.
So I'm excited about our speakers, y'all. We know them personally. We love them. We have obviously a relationship with them, and so we chose them for a reason. So we have the amazing author and speaker and life coach, Purvis Taylor. We have Trisha Bell, who is our homegirl, right? She is a coach. She's a marriage coach. She's a marriage and sex coach because she be doing a thing. She got 4 kids, but she's in a happy marriage, so she has a lot to say about that. And we have Wendell Cisnet, who is also he's an entrepreneur. So he's an artist and an entrepreneur. And we have these 3 individuals who were so excited about being on with us because they have a lot to say, and God has shown them so many things, and they've learned so many things. And so with that being said, the 3 of y'all, I guess we can have Purvis first. Just tell us your age, if you feel comfortable, your marital status, and one unhealthy view you've had of sex.
Oh gosh, I've had many. Hi everybody, my name is Purvis. I am 40 and I am single. I guess one of the most unhealthy views I've had of sex is that you need to have a large body count to get it right.
Mm. Come on with the truth in the morning. We still in the morning.
Okay.
Come on with the truth in the morning.
Okay, so we have Trisha next. Trisha Bell, tell us your age, if you feel comfortable, your marital status, which I said already, and I'm gonna switch it up. Tell us a little bit about your first knowledge or encounter, not encounter, but when you first learned about sex.
Well, I'm 37. I've been married almost 13 years, and my first knowledge or understanding of sex came from, I was molested at 7, and so from that point, it just sparked curiosity, and how I actually saw it or learned about it was through porn and just TV, like Cinemax.
Mm-hmm.
Skinemax.
We have so much to say. I remember Cinemax. And
Yep.
actually, I was saying on the live, Showtime. I was saying on the live we did, Trey and I did last night, that was my first time actually seeing, being aware of sex. Well, that's one of the ways I remember being aware of sex, and I was in junior high school. Okay, Wendell. Your age, your marital status, and one unhealthy view you've had of sex.
Wow. All right. Yeah. I'm 35. Been married for 2 years now. And one unhealthy view I've had of sex, I've had plenty of unhealthy views, but the one that comes immediately to mind was me using sex as a tool to feel powerful and dominant.
I don't know about y'all,
We
but
getting
I'm
right
super
into it.
excited for the conversation because everybody straight dived on in. That's what just happened. Okay. So this is a question that I think that we all can take a second to just really dive into. If you had to be really truthful and honest with yourself, like in all vulnerability, right? Can you share a void that you felt that the Lord has worked, as in past tense, or is continuously working diligently within you?
Can you qualify that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Sure. So the question is ultimately, what are your voids, right? But as I said, if you can really unpack that with us, what would you say is a void that the Lord has worked or is continuously working diligently with you on?
Mm-hmm. I can go. I know for me growing up, a void that I definitely had was just affection from a man. Yeah, sure, I lived with my father, I grew up with him, but he's not affectionate whatsoever. Not affectionate at all. So I definitely, was looking for that affection in men. And, now currently, that the Lord has absolutely worked that out. Prior to marriage, I had to get a lot of counsel and still in therapy currently with, working with daddy issues and in that situation. But yeah, the Lord has, definitely replaced that void with just me being able to um, glean from him and depend on him for that affection, right? I think when you don't have that physical affection from your father, it's hard. It's hard because all you want is somebody to just touch you and hold you, right? And so it just became difficult growing up. But like I said, now the Lord has definitely worked that out. So.
Wow. May I go next?
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say so from my childhood, Trisha, I was molested too at 7 years old. One of the things that I experienced a lot of was being emasculated and being bullied severely. And so one of the things that the Lord has worked through and is still working through, and ironically, that I was disempowered in my masculinity and I empower men in their masculinity for a living. The irony of that. But he's definitely been affirming me along my journey that I am enough, that I am a man. And like it didn't stop, it's continuous. Because I think the more the higher up I go in this field, the greater the attacks are, and he has to always remind me of that. And so that's something that he has done and that he's continuously doing currently.
Nice.
Wow. I would say for me that it was like twofold in regards to the voids. I would have to say emotionalism and like loneliness. Those things would especially loneliness. I know that I used to attach loneliness to sex, and anytime I felt lonely, I know that I was able to just pick up the phone and call and fill a void. Um, and I would say emotionalism. I think it comes from. I think loneliness and emotionalism are tied together because there was a point in my life where I lived by my emotions, and my emotion was just what was true. But that is something that I know the Lord has worked out in me heavily by one allowing me to be okay in my singleness and allowing me to understand that singleness is fine and that He is constantly and was constantly and still is, working on me. Um, and not allowing me but also allowing me to see the truth beyond my emotion. Because it would, whatever I felt is something that to me internally became true, and I would live by it, even if it didn't correlate with reality.
Mhm.
But the Lord has truly allowed me to see reality for what it is, um, and still allow me to feel my emotions and consider them, but take reality and His truth into consideration.
So I just
Yes.
have to make a quick mention before we even get to the next part of things. I do just want to kind of open the air to say I love how all three of you guys, when responding, we're talking about the voice that you've experienced, but also the way in which the Lord is continuously working through them, so that we can all be clear that healing isn't this place that you arrive to, right? Healing is a
Right.
process, a continual process, something that we are
Absolutely.
consistently going through. Of course, triggers happen. Of course, memories happen, but they may turn into fewer and farther in between. Doesn't mean that it no longer has impact. It just means
Right.
that I'm consistently working this out with the Lord. That doesn't mean I have arrived to this location of healing is a location I checked into. It's a process. So ultimately, I just really wanted to make mention of that, and I thank you guys for just even responding in such a powerful way, because that's real.
Woo. Thank you guys. Thank you. So, okay. I'm excited. I'm sorry. So, what are the perceived expectations of being a man or a woman, and how does that affect you emotionally? So, you kind of talked about that, but we want to go a little further into that. So, what are the perceived expectations of being a man or being a woman, Trish? And how does that affect you emotionally?
I think a lot of the perceived expectations of being a man or a woman, most of the time, they are defined by society. They're defined by what society is looking to kind of like pigeonhole you into. Um, and more times than not, that does go against what God wants from us. Um, so I say for a man, some of the perceived expectations are to be kind of stoic, um,
Mhm.
to to not necessarily be a man of feeling, not to be a man of who 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 could intuitively um, get through to people or communicate with people. Um, I think that the perceived expectation of men is to um, constantly always um, be strong in this sense that you're not supposed to show weakness at all. Um, I would have to surmise it to like toxic masculinity almost. I think whatever falls underneath that are perceived expectations of a man.
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely. I echo what Wendell just said, and moreover, adding like being amazing in the bedroom, um,
Yeah,
uh, having to provide, and being nonverbal, the strong silent type, um,
yeah,
and just being this, like he said, this perceived uh, sense of strength, which is like really suppression, right? So really not dealing with
Mm.
anything, but just being stoic and
yeah,
void of emotion, and
right.
not, and it's funny. I had a fiance. I was engaged one time, and one of the things that she says that she
Wow.
prayed for a man who was more verbal, and I was more verbal, and then she regretted it because I could
Mm.
challenge her in
Woo!
you know what I mean?
Wow.
I could challenge her, and I had my own thought process, and she was used to being the smartest one in a relationship, or not being
Mm.
challenged. And so, um yeah, that, not being verbal, like just kind of like just provide, give you orgasms, and be, strong and silent.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Strong and
Wow.
silent, provide you orgasms.
Orgasms.
Wow.
You know what?
Wow.
That reminds me
Wait.
of a song that Monica has, "Good Sex," and something. She said something
Yeah.
like that. I don't remember the song, but it reminds me of that.
And commitment, good sex and commitment.
Commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
gonna say for women, I think one, just those expectations that come from society can be exhausting, because I think we try to uphold society standards in the way we look, in the way we, our shape, our butt, like how we, beat our face, the weaves and everything like that. It's exhausting. But I think it's super, it can be super problematic too, because we kind of like get aside from ourselves. Like we're not able to be ourselves fully, because when we are, we're not really accepted like that. It's this like lack of acceptance thing when we become who we're supposed to be. But yeah, just the word exhausting comes up when I feel like when we try to reach society's uh, you know standards. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So I'm going to actually ask Janelle this question. And part of it is going to be, she'll answer one part, I'll answer another part, and then you can go on to the next question, Janelle. So what would you say are the lies you've believed about love?
Wow.
As an adult, I realized that Disney really did inform my way of looking at love. I know it sounds crazy, but if you really thought about it,
It's a
it
fact.
doesn't sound
It's a
crazy,
fact.
right?
It's a fact.
That's a fact.
Right.
Because I was I still love Disney World. Like I go when I can. We went on our honeymoon. How about that? Like I love Disney World. I love and I think that somehow I expected for it to be like perfection somehow. And then also some of the lies that so there was that extreme, and then as I got older, I settled a lot, and so I thought that, okay, he loves me because he's around. He cheated, but he's still here, or he's not doing his utmost, and I'm still accepting it. I settled for crap, and I didn't see marriage and healthy love in my family. I saw love, like healthy love, from a mother to a child, but not in a marriage, or not even in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship. I didn't see that. And so I expected a lot from the guy that I was with, and then when I didn't get it, because I wanted to hold on to him and hold on to that love, I accepted crap. I hope that answered the question. But yeah, and my husband always says that, oh, I want to be the best you ever had. And he's not talking about sexually. He's talking about like in general, like I'm going to love you the best. I'm in Janelle University. So he's like studying me. And I appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
And
Yo, that is real.
I accept him for his flaws. He's not going to be like Prince Charming in Disney, but he's going to be, now that I know that what love is supposed to look like, because I have a relationship with Jesus, I can compare him to Jesus, not expect him to be Jesus, to be like Jesus. There's a difference. So that's my answer.
It's good.
All right.
Trey.
So go ahead.
So go ahead. You want to answer the question?
Okay. All right. So the latter part of that question is, what are the lies that I've believed about sex? So the lies, I would say, there's so many, aren't they? But for true, like for big facts, I think the biggest lie that I believed was that it was a validator. And I know I always say that word, and I've had conversations with people about it before, like why that word, and it validated like something. I think it was something similar to what both Wendell and Purvis were mentioning about like it making you feel good, right? It making you feel attractive, it making you feel beautiful, it making you feel sexy, like you have that person's full attention, right? And it's like if I'm feeling low, if I'm feeling upset, if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling questionable of who I am, if I'm confused about my identity, well, I know I'm killing it over here, so this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
Exactly.
And so it's okay.
Yep.
I think, like, if there was ever one thing that the Lord asked of me that I was just like, that's never gonna happen, is this part. You know, walking in relationship with him. I was like, okay, I could do relationship with you. I could do all the other things. Wait, so you're talking about not doing the things? Like, why? Why? Like, are you kidding me? It's amazing. Like, this is great. Like, why? And I think it has transformed my view of people. Like, it really has truly transformed my view of people, because I don't know about anybody else. I know y'all, but like, if you've ever not had an sexual interaction with somebody, you can see that person clear as day. You can see everything.
Yeah.
You listen, you could hear, you watch, you pay attention. And for the Lord to say, this is the thing, Trey, the thing that I was like on day 2, like, what are we doing here? You know, like, and that being the thing, I thought at first I was just like, this is stupid, this is nuts. But, you know, years in at this point, I'm like, oh, I mean, you got a point. You got a point there. Because you do see things very differently. Because your body can create a relationship with a person. Your body can create love with a person. Your body can create truth with a person. Your body can create depth of a storyline with a person, and ain't nothing there. Nothing is there. But your body has created a storyline that you consistently feel is so magnetic, you know. And as we can see, if we just think about magnets, once you put them anywhere close to each other, they snap.
They repel.
You know. And so I think when it comes to the lies that I've believed about sex, I thought that I couldn't have a relationship with Jesus without like, I felt like I could have a relationship with Jesus void of him asking me to do certain things. Or void of him telling me, Tracy, these are the things that I need you to do. I thought I could have a totally real life relationship with you and not give you anything. And give you anything is giving you a me. And so
that's crazy.
Yeah, that is definitely a lie I believe about sex.
Tracy, the crazy thing about what you just said, the very last thing that you said, is that you thought that you could have a relationship with Jesus void of all those things. But the crazy thing is that that's actually the reason why I ran from Jesus for so long, because I knew I would have to give up all these things. All these things that made me feel powerful, made me feel sexy, made me feel good, made me feel like I was the man. I knew I would have to give it up, and I ran from Jesus. Like Jesus was calling me a
Mhm.
long time, and I just ran simply because I knew that I would have to let those things go.
Yeah.
Wendell, that is the case for me, and I think, and I don't know if I'm correct totally, but in my experiences with working with people, it seems like that's the main reason why we run away from God. Because if we can have a relationship with God, and have our way as well, then why not? You know.
Why
But
not?
if
Exactly.
we have to choose Him over our own desires. If we have to choose Him and and not give up what we want, then yeah, I'm on and popping. I want that, you know. So it's definitely
I want what I want.
right.
That's the
So
part.
that's
I
the
want what I
problem.
want, when I want
I
it,
want,
how I want it. So for anybody to come and try to infiltrate the space and be like,
Yeah.
actually, you're going to do it the way that, excuse me, what we're not doing is that, you know?
let me tell you something.
Nobody wants to
Up
put in that
to
work.
today, huh?
Nobody wants to put in that work.
No.
It's harder to give up the things, right? It's easy to just
Yes.
keep, doing whatever you want to do. You want what you want, all right.
Yeah.
But when you're willing to put in the work to sacrifice the things that you want over what God wants, it's
Mhm.
life changing. But
I also think the reality is that in our minds, like in our real hearts, right? We're like, I don't want to change. Like for real. Like we
Exactly.
come up with,
Yeah.
I don't want anything in my life to change. But secretly, like deep down in there, we are begging for things to
To be
change.
different.
Begging.
Yes.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
dying on the inside. Like I'm legitimately dying. Although I'm saying
And no
that
one
this
says
sex is
that.
great. No one says that out loud, right?
No
It's
one's
like
gonna
I
speak
know,
about that.
although I'm saying
Absolutely.
that the sex is great, my career path, everything is great. Everything is great. But it's like I feel so empty that I don't
Yeah.
understand how this is life. Is this life? Is this adulting? I don't want this. But it's like
yeah.
I am dying on a different level. I want the change, but I actually really don't. You know why? Because that means that I would have to, my friend groups. I just wanted to be like, I just wanted to be neat. Like I wanted to be pretty. I wanted to still be cute, calm, and creative and compact. And then it's like sometimes, at least for myself, the Lord knows how to speak to me. He got to throw my tables. Like he cannot come to Tracy.
Flip over
We have
tables.
this conversation. Let's really talk. No, God comes to me, like Jesus comes to me, flip the table. So now let's talk. That's me. Because if it's not like pow in my face, I'm not having no conversation. So that's really, I think that's really where it comes from.
So Trey, as your friend, I would say that's not the case anymore. I would say when you first started your relationship with Jesus,
I'm talking about the things from before. Go ahead, girlfriend. Thank you.
Right. I would say that's how it was before. I would say now you're not like that, because guess what? He's worked with you. You worked with him, and you're growing. And I know for a fact Trisha can say the same. The beautiful thing about this, y'all, is that Trisha and discipling Tracy. So there's a lot of connections going on here. And so it's for good conversation. Wow. But what I want to say is yes. In the beginning, especially mainly all of us, we hold on to what we want so much that God has to like pry open our hands very hard, and we're still holding on, and it hurts. And that's when we like, okay, it hurts. Okay, I'll open up. But a lot of times, if it doesn't hurt, we ain't moving.
Come on.
Say it.
Yeah. And then sometimes you do get what you want and you still feel empty.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, come on, purpose and hit.
Absolutely.
Because
it's not what
listen,
you really
I mean, right. And it's like we always think that sex, money will always fill those voids within our soul, and they don't. Right. But then part of the reason why we don't want to change is because we don't know what change looks like, and we don't know that change is possible for us. We don't even know that that's even available to us. And I think we spin the wheels because, you know what I mean? And you know, we talk about this all the time. Like, it's a loss of control. We like to feel in control.
Absolutely.
And that unknown space, that new territory, we don't have a sense of control in that area. And so it's like, let me stick with what I do know. Let me stick with the little bit of control that I think I have.
Right. Right. Woo. And I'm gonna
That's so
say this
crazy
one last.
because that's like
Go ahead.
go. Okay. That's like saying to be out of control in God is to be in control.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Here come
To
the
be out of
entrepreneur.
control.
Here come the entrepreneur words.
But
Absolutely,
that's
bro.
basically what that
Absolutely.
is. It's like to be out of control in God is to be in control. It's to allow him to just do what he needs to do in your life, and you let go and let God, literally.
And surrendering, right? You know, we don't talk enough
And
about the
surrendering.
power of
Absolutely.
surrendering.
Absolutely.
Man, and I
That's
want y'all
tough.
to know this. This is important. Let me be honest. Up to this day, God is still working on me about giving up my own way. So don't think that I've arrived. Don't think that any one of us have arrived.
Hello.
Me go
Same
back
Hello.
here.
Still,
Hello.
still.
Hello.
I mean,
Same
it's
here.
the smallest petty thing.
That ain't
Me
done.
and God, I feel like I want to eat, and sometimes it may sound crazy. Sometimes he doesn't want me to eat something, or like maybe he wants me to fast, and I'm like, no, I'm hungry. Or maybe I want to watch this show, and he's like, no, give up that show. Get whatever it is. There's a specific reason why he's saying it, because for some reason, if I'm gonna hold on to something that much, and I choose that over him, that means I'm worshiping the thing. And so therefore he knows what's that all he knows he's the deepest part of our hearts. And so therefore, because he knows that, he's like, this is best for you. Let me give this up. Even if it's something that you think is small, obviously it's not that small because you want to hold on to it. But we make idols out of everything. It could be the seemingly smallest thing. So with that being said, it's a process, y'all. We haven't arrived.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think
Progressive sanctification.
just to briefly mention what you were saying, Janelle, about making idols out of everything. It doesn't have to be like, I know we're having this conversation about like this is called Jesus Loves Sex, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Purvis just mentioned money and sex he was talking about. But I remember I was having a conversation with my financial coach, and she was like, okay, so if there's a particular time where you feel that you want to flex and you feel like you can't flex, you get tight. And what that means is you rebel, aka you spend whatever you feel like spending. Because you like, ain't nobody could touch me. I got this money. I could do it. And then next month, you out here dry. So it doesn't necessarily have to
Tumbleweeds.
Right. Tumbleweeds, right? But the reality is, it is something. There is something in you that you are trying to create an idol out of, or that you're like, no, you can do all this around me, but you can't touch this. And this might be the relationship that you're in. This might be the way that you see money, the way that you don't give, like the way that you're not generous, the way that you're like, like your pride. It might be this, right? It might be the sex, it might be the relationship, it might be so many different things, the way that you covet, or the way that you hold this job, because you're like, this job and is I hate it, but it has so much money attached to it, whatever that may be. You know what I'm saying? Because I also don't want us to feel like we're so focused that it's like it doesn't include other things.
Yeah.
But you're right though, Trey. That spills over love, spills over to every area of our life. Everything deals with love of comfort, love of providing. Everything goes back to love. So yeah. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Is it love, or is it the fact that we are created and designed to worship? Because if we are created and designed to worship, then we could end up holding on, loving and worshiping anything, right? We don't if we don't pay attention, if we don't listen to God, if we don't read his word, if we don't get close to him, then we could end up doing, worshiping sex, worshiping money, worshiping our job, that we hate so much, but we hold on to it because it gives us money, you know what I mean? So,
Because
I
we
mean,
love
I
the
think
lifestyle.
that
Yeah.
we love the right, we love the lifestyle, but I think that the enemy is also at work as well. So
Oh, absolutely.
everything we're designed to worship, and that worship is to go vertically, right? But if we have an enemy, an adversary that is looking to disrupt that, then a lot of things could be perverted. Our relationships could be perverted. Our finances could be perverted. But I think it has a lot to do with just us built and constructed to worship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. You
Absolutely.
hit it on the nose. And I'm so glad the enemy came up, because we have to be very aware of the back work. There's things that we just don't
Mhm.
see that's affecting things that we see. When I'm mad at my brother, it's really because something is going on with the enemy is using my love for my brother, because most people don't get on my nerves, like, because I don't care enough, but I care about my brother, and so the
Right.
enemy is like going to use something that I love to rock me. And so if you love
Mm.
sex, oh, he's going to use that to control you. And we love
Oh
love
Mhm.
yeah.
too. We covet love. We want, I mean,
Oh
that's,
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm more about love than like, yes, I like to have sex with my husband, but love, like, I want to be in love. I want to, cuddle. I want that. And so with that
Yeah.
being said, like, the enemy uses our desire for love and sex and whatever, like we said, whatever it is, to stir us away from God. And sometimes that, like, prevents
Mhm.
people from accepting him and goes straight, you eventually don't have that relationship with him. And then also you don't have that relationship with him in the afterlife. Hell, like
Yeah.
it, like, let's talk about it,
Yeah.
like, that's what it is, unfortunately. So beware, y'all, beware.
Mhm.
So there's so many questions we have. So the next question is, um, why am I abstaining from sex again?
Child.
I said it like that because let me tell you a story.
Purpose, say that again, please, please,
Yo.
please. Silence on the chat. Purpose got
Child.
it.
My granny said it all the time. She be like, child, please. Yeah. That's an interesting
So
question. I ask myself that all the time.
right, and I've asked myself that. So y'all who follow us, we've talked about our journey of abstinence. Mine was an 8-year abstinence. Um, and I'm learning now that when I'm not learning, I always get that. I always get the wow, that's crazy. But actually, in my relationship with Trey, I realized, like, yo, if you masturbated, are you really abstinent?
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
that's a question we're gonna get into. But I didn't have sex with a man, because that's my preference, for 8 years. And so with that being said, I would ask myself that all the time. Like, I remember obviously why I started that journey of abstinence, because God was like, I told you. You ever feel this? And it just keeps
Oh
on
Oh,
yeah.
coming,
yeah.
and it keeps on
Oh
coming,
yeah.
and it
That
keeps on coming,
nausea.
because God,
And
in
then
his
that's when you be
sovereign,
like, oh my gosh, okay.
like, stop.
Right.
So for me, my relationship with God got greater and greater, and therefore my desire to please him got greater and greater. And so therefore I didn't want to, I felt like I was disrespecting him every time I did things that he told me not. And so
Yeah.
eventually, and I say eventually because it wasn't clean cut for me. It wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm gonna stop having sex. No, he told me several times. He showed me several times. I mean, I didn't even enjoy sex anymore, y'all, because I'm hearing God speak to me while I'm having sex. That's how much he was after my behind. You know, he's interrupting what I want to do. He's interrupting my sin, you know, like stop. But anyway,
that's a hashtag.
but guess what? That's his love for me, and that's his love for you. That's his like how sovereign he is. I'm telling you, I got text messages from people that I prayed with, like, "Hey, I had a dream that you were having sex with such and such because I was dating this guy," and she texted me that just before, and I had sex with the guy. She said, "Janelle, don't go to his house." Like that's how much God was chasing after me. And I know some of y'all, or if you're paying attention, all y'all who God is chasing after, he's doing things like that, but you have to pay attention. So anyway, with that being said, those are the things I had to remember why I was abstinent when I was on that path. So let's talk about you all. Like, why am I abstinent? What do you say to that person when they don't want to do it? They don't want to hold on anymore to their abstinence. They want to just do what they want to do, which we all understand. So like, what would you say to that person?
Listen, this is so this is so real, okay?
Sorry, my first question is
literally like, what do you say to that person? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's individual. I think it's you know, specific for everybody, and God speaks to everyone in the way that they hear, right? I would just have to tell that person, listen, remember your relationship with the Lord. Remember the very first time he called you to take this path. Remember that. Hold on to that. Because I can't give no advice, especially in this area. You know, like my abstinence journey wasn't 8 years. It was 3 years, but it was hard. Okay. It was the hardest thing I probably had to go through. But it was all the way worth it. But I can't even imagine anyone giving me advice. But the only thing I could think of literally is for a person to remember why God called them on this journey. Now, even if you don't remember why, remember the moment. Remember how you felt. Reflect on that and let that drive you. That's the only thing I could say.
Yeah, that's good. And my question, you know, because I have questions. I think I always have to start with questions because, you know, I don't want to assume anything. You know, my first question is, what is your relationship with the Lord? What do you believe about Jesus? Do you believe that his word is true? If you believe that his word is true, then you will obey it. And do you understand that God created sex and he created it for husband and wife, not for boyfriend and girlfriend, or for, it's not sex is not about, you know, you just do it whenever you want that. Like, it was created for a purpose. And so if you don't understand why it was created and where it comes from, right? Because I think a lot of Christians don't understand that God created it and it's good, right? But it's only specific to people who are married, right? Because marriage is a picture of Christ's love for the church. So if you don't understand those things, then you're not going to understand why you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage. And so if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, then you're not even gonna have a desire to do what Jesus has called you to do. Or if your relationship with Jesus is like real surfacey, you know, or you just like, I mean, he cool and all that, but I mean, I'm not trying to be about he trying to be, I'm trying to be what I'm trying to be. Then at that point it's like, okay, well, do what you want, right? Because it's your choice. And so that, like, again, I have to, just ask the questions. I think once you ask the questions, it could lead for them to think more deeply about where they stand with God. And then we can talk about the
Yes.
gospel.
That's good.
What also
Yes.
I what I also think, just on a practical level, like, do you want that drama? Do you want what those situations can create? Do you want an entanglement? Do you want that? Because sometimes it's like you can. I listen. I think people who fall short, they love the Lord. I'm not questioning their love for God. But I also think sometimes in those situations, we don't realize that we're creating another situation. We're creating another problem. We're creating something that didn't have to happen. And so I look at it from that standpoint of like, do you want that drama? Do you want that? Because it comes with so much stuff. Like, it's not just the
That's so
sex,
real.
it's other stuff that comes along with it. Like, do you really want that? And yeah, so I just look at it from that standpoint of like, listen, some people I recognize in just doing this work for so long that some people got to touch the stove to see that it's hot. That's just how some
Fact.
people learn. And unfortunately,
That is a fact.
some people, you come with something you don't want. It could be a child, could be an STI, could be more drama, could be a relationship you
Yeah.
don't want to be in. It's a lot of things that come along with it. So, we definitely need to be balanced with it. Like, what does God say? What is your relationship with Christ? But also too, bro, here's the practicality of what could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the same time,
Yeah,
so
real.
I would think this goes twofold. One, in starting off with knowing that you are abstaining from sex, does not make you holier. It does not make you closer to God.
Wow,
Say that again.
It does
Say that again.
Well, but the facts.
Yeah.
It does not mean, okay, because you didn't masturbate for 2 years means that you and Jesus are best friends. And you got no issue with you and Jesus. Like, that
So
ain't it.
repeat that again.
Like, just because you didn't have sex for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever the years are, a year,
That's a fact.
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
it is, doesn't mean that you are now closer to God. So
Yeah.
the first thing I would want to say is, my question to that person would be, do you believe that your inability to have sex, or your inability, or your desire, your voluntary desire not to have sex, or your voluntary desire not to masturbate, means that you're closer to God? So now, does that mean that you're looking at other people who are actually having sex and who are still building their relationship with God as you're holier? Because that'd be the question.
That's good.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
not always about I'm struggling with not having sex or not, masturbating. It could really be, I have a very holier than thou complex. And I see it
That
as
part. Religious
I see it
spirit.
as,
Religious spirit.
you know what? I don't be having sex with nobody. I'm out here. I'm a virgin. I ain't touched nobody. Nobody touched me. Penetration is not the only form of virginity. Pull it up, back again. Hello. Okay. So, all right. But with that being said, it's like, if I'm going to now come and use this, that's going to go back to, I'm holding this stronghold as pride.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm better than
Yeah.
y'all. You know why? Because I don't have sex. Y'all out here struggling with sex. Okay, you struggling with a nasty spirit.
Right.
Right.
You struggling.
You struggling.
Yeah,
Right. You
struggling with
prideful.
pride.
You
You
arrogant.
struggling with
mad
both.
haughty.
You
Right.
struggling
You
with
mad
arrogance.
boastful.
That's a fact.
Like, all of these things, and I know, as I said before, I know we are talking about Jesus loves sex. I just want to ensure that you guys are not logging on here thinking that sex is what brings you, not having sex is what brings you closer to God, or having, being married means that you are closer to God. None of those things. That ain't the thing. You have not pulled up to a situation and you're like, yes, now I have a reason to say I am bigger and better than other people, right? So there's that. The other thing I would say is, for me, I've experienced that a lot of times with other women, even with myself. I think the question goes back to why. Why did you decide? How did you decide? Was that on your own volition? Like, I'm not having sex. Okay, so then if you decide to pop, lock, and drop it tomorrow, that's on you. Like you decided that you wanted to, like, it's in your own strength. But if you are like, no, this is for the, like, I'm really doing this for the Lord, like I felt like he told me, I believe he told me, then I think at that point you have more opportunity to be like, you know what, I feel like I'm wilding. You know what I'm about to do? I'm about to call her and be like, yo, can you talk me down? Because I'm about to pull up at his house, right? I'm outside. Forget about I'm about to pull up at his house. I'm in the backyard, y'all.
I'm about to ring the doorbell. I'm about to ring the doorbell.
I don't got no pennies on. I'm outside. Like, this be the fact. Right. You be out there like, hello, I'm outside. I don't got panties on, I'm outside. Like, what I'm supposed to do? Because I'm supposed to do this. Like, for real. But at that point, but that comes with, I would say that part comes with more of a, I have a relationship with him and I'm trying, and this is a struggle and this hurts because it is stripping me of all the things that I would do to now not be forced to acknowledge what the real thing is happening in me. Whatever the real thing is happening in me, sex would cover it. So those are the
whatever the void is.
Whatever the void is, I don't want to acknowledge that. Why? Because that's a hurt. That's a place that hurts.
Yeah.
And I have to see the thing in order to acknowledge the thing. And it hurts to see the thing because I've consistently lived a life of covering it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good, Trey.
And I think, I think the thing that we want, I'm sorry. Can I say something?
Go ahead, Purpose.
Go ahead.
I said, I think the thing that we want a lot is intimacy, right? We want someone to really tap into those vulnerable spaces. We want to be that vulnerable with somebody. And I think the only way we think of intimacy is sex. We're not realizing that, as marriage sex coach, that the greatest foreplay is great conversation. And the biggest sex organ is the mind. And so and our emotions and our soul. So it's like, I think we're all craving intimacy, and I think we don't know how to qualify that. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
Wow.
I remember seeing this movie called Above the Lights, I think, or Beyond the Lights, something like that. And
Good
I didn't
movie.
think I would be. I didn't think I would like it that much. But what happened was there was this woman who was, she was portraying. She was very famous. Say she was like a Beyonce in that. She was like a Beyonce, right? Everyone knew her. Everyone loved her. She's not married. And this police officer finds her about to jump off her balcony. And he's pleading with her and he's saying, don't do it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but the thing I remember is he said, I see you. I see you. And for some reason, that really resonated with me. And that's what it is. Jesus sees you. And that's what we want. We want to be seen for who we are. That's it.
Yeah.
Not for what we might be. Not for when we arrive. We want to be seen and accepted for who we are.
And accepted. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's Jesus sees us and he knows that everything, all the crap, all the good and the bad of who we are, and he loves us. Now he wants us to do better because he's our father, and that's what good fathers, good friends, good whoever is in your life does.
Right.
If you never change and you accepted him as your Lord and Savior, you're like he would accept you at that. That's it. He would love you regardless of what it is. Now fast forward to, or this thing about sex or love. We want that from people, right? I remember
Mhm.
my husband told me that before, and I don't know if he noticed that I wanted that, but one time he said, "I see you, Janelle," and I was like, "Whoa, whoa!" But to me, like I felt like he saw my soul. But what to me that was God using him to love me. That's how I
Mm.
felt. And Trisha brought up that point. Like the church, as humans, we are his bride. Like the church, excuse me, the church, those who have accepted him, we are his bride. He is the bridegroom. So that it's just an example. Marriage is an example of what we are to God. And so, and sex has some as,
Oh,
and I think
wow.
not Trey, I think Trisha can explain that better, but sex is how you like, how would you say, like consummate that and like continue
Mhm.
to keep that relationship going. And for
Yeah,
us, it's not,
absolutely.
obviously we're not having sex with God, but we're worshiping
Mhm.
God. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm like fully making this clear, but that's our way of connecting with God, is worship and a relationship with him. And our way of connecting with our spouse, one of the ways, is sex.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
that when you think about that whole situation, that's really what that is. So anyway,
Yeah, absolutely.
um okay. Oh, so for the married people, so that's myself, Trisha, and Wendell. Is there, and if you will be honest with yourself, this came from the chat. If you were honest with yourself, do you feel like there was a sense of arriving? And that's not, in my experience, in my opinion, that's actually very arrogant. But
Mhm.
I would say, like, if I really sat down with myself and thought about it and let God be real with me, do I feel like there was a sense of me arriving after I got
Mm.
married? Um,
Mm.
Oof.
what would you say about that?
A big
It's a
giant
very
hell no.
vulnerable question.
Yeah, I would say absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I know for me, I prior to marriage, I had to get a lot of counsel because I just didn't feel like I was equipped or good enough to be married. And that's something
Mm,
that I've struggled with
Mm.
for a long time, ever since I can remember as a child, not being good enough. Something I still struggle with today. And so
Mhm.
I think that was like my main thing. So when I did get married, I was like, yo, like, how did I get here? Like, I
right.
just didn't feel like, it would ever happen in the way that it did. 'Cause I was not celibate for years. I was only celibate for about a year and a half prior to marriage. And that's something that I wish that I could say, man, I went 5 years and it's like, nah, that just wasn't my reality. Um, but but the Lord, but God, right? The fact that me and my husband did not have sex before marriage, that was absolutely God. And so because of like some of the struggles that I had, my own like lustful struggles and things that I felt like the Lord was still working on me um, you know, as I was getting married, like I think a lot of it made me feel like, nah, I definitely, I definitely have not arrived. Like, nah. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Right, right.
I mean, even after marriage, we were like counseling couples, and I'd be like, how am I here? How am I here?
Yo,
Just
I
I
being
would
for
real.
say
me,
two things. Two things.
yeah.
One, never. I know, and I've heard people say, "Oh, Janelle, I wish I was a celibate as long as you." No, you don't. You didn't wish that. You don't wish that.
Mm,
I think the reason why I was celibate for 8 years is because I didn't learn my lesson when I was supposed to learn my lesson. I think that's what it was. I don't
Wow.
think it's because, like I'm better or holier, or I think it's because it just took me a long time to learn. So that's
Mhm.
one. And
Wow.
then two, I think I think there was a sense of arriving, yes, when I got married, but that was quickly uh I quickly woke up, because at the end of the day, like, being married shows you your flaws. Like, there's someone there
Oh my goodness.
that's you want to be
Absolutely.
seen. So, like, we talked about being seen earlier. Like, I see you, God sees you, and that's why he's like, hey, Janelle, you need to work on this. I love you, but let's work on that. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Same thing with marriage. My husband, I mean, he's not going to see me as well as God does, but he sees me. And there's certain things I don't want him to see, you know, because I'm ashamed of it or I'm still working on it. And so, with that being said, if there was any type of feeling of being arriving, I was knocked off that horse real quick, because at the end of the day, it's marriage is beautiful, but it's beautiful because it makes you more like Jesus. That's why it's beautiful. It's beautiful because, so with that being said, yeah, it's sanctification for sure. So to those who believe that if you're not married now and you feel like when you get married you've arrived, it's another level of growth.
Absolutely.
Can I just part into this real quick?
I echo
right?
that. I echo all of that.
So
Go, Trey.
I think the thing is where this question comes from is because there is this. So I've never really heard that. Like I've seen marriage in my family. All my family is married. Like that's the thing. So it's normal. But I feel like as a believer, I don't think that there has been this level of pressure to get married, because it's like the church, the capital C, has this idea of get married so you can be holy. And that's the part. And I'm going to just drop that right there.
Right.
That's wrong.
And I'm going to just drop that right there, because that's really what it be like. I think that's where the question even comes from, the way that it is phrased as to, do you believe that you've arrived? Let's get to the root of the thing. Who told you, or in what way in what way did you internalize arrival from marriage? And the reason why there's an internalized, let me just finish my sentence, Trish. When the way that it is internalized is because there is this ideal that in order for you to move in a holy way, in order for you to genuinely love God in this manner, it is get married. And it's like, there are so many people who struggle with the idea of marriage if they don't want to get married, or if they don't feel, open to marriage, or if their, affections aren't for the person that they could get married to, whatever it is. But I'll just stop right there, Trisha. You can go ahead.
Yeah, Trish, then
the church has made marriage an idol.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would say a lot, and I'm not saying the church as a whole, but I have heard that from many single women and men, that like, why is it this thing that if I get married, I'm more holy? And why is it that being married is the end all be all to everything? And it's like, wait, nah, and I think we as the church have to be careful with the way that we esteem marriage. Like, it's almost like we esteem those who are married over those who are single. Like, if you're married, you're, like you said, you're more holy than the single folk. Or the single folk, you really have no status until you're married. And it's like, nah, that's a lie from the pit. We gotta stop doing that.
Or Trish, can I just add the one little piece? The only people who can disciple you are the ones who are married.
Yeah, now that's
Jesus
crazy.
Was never
listen, the person who discipled me was not married.
Jesus was never married.
What? So and I would say if we're honest, right, the church is influenced by the culture, because we live in a culture that dictates that if you're married, that equates to success, and if you're single, that equates to failure, right? And I coach and I counsel married couples, and I'm not married, right? And I do it very successfully. I do it very well. If people know, or people knew what goes into a marriage, they would be like this, like, I don't know if that's for me. Because it's a lot of work that goes into a marriage, right?
Yeah.
Listen, because it is a mirror. To Janelle's point, it is a mirror. It highlights who you really are. And I think for many of us, we're not brave enough to partake in that, right? And that's okay. but it's not the glitz and glam that we made it out to be, or this, like,
The
to everyone's
hashtag
point, this
relationship
arrival
goals on
stage.
Instagram.
Relationship goals, because it does not equate to success. The only way you're going to have a successful
Right.
marriage is if you are successful within yourself.
Facts.
And then
Singleness
that goes along with
comes
the
first.
Jesus,
That's
the thing,
Boom,
like
boom, boom,
being
boom, boom.
whole, being whole within yourself, right? Because that's the best thing that you can offer anybody, is being whole. And that does go with Jesus, and that does go with love, right? Loving yourself. And I think that's important, that we need to emphasize that just as much as we emphasize the covenant of marriage.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wendell,
So
did
yeah,
you have
so
something
y'all,
that's what you were adding in? I just wanted to make sure you.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Listen,
bro.
they just nah, you're good. You're good. I mean, like, I echo a lot of the things that yeah, you guys were saying, man. Like, there was a comment. I don't know if you guys have been following the chat, but there was a comment made by Janelle. And she said, so that your lust will no longer look or seem sinful since you're a Christian. And that right there, I think that's a lot of times why people, they pressure themselves into marriage. I know a lot of people who have gotten married just so that they can have sex. You know what I mean? And not feel sinful
Crazy.
outside of doing it outside of marriage. You know what I mean? So like there is a religious aspect, and then I echo what you were saying, Purvis, about singleness and about being whole with you first. You know, because I think that we tend to forget that although marriage is one, it's a unit, but it's two separate individuals coming together to work and operate as one. Now, it doesn't mean that when you get married, you're working and operating as one successfully, but there is a journey to become one. You know, and then, you know,
Absolutely.
sometimes it could be ugly, sometimes it can be, you know, beautiful. But I think you know, once you are whole, you can just do anything, I think, you know, especially marriage.
And I just wish we talked about that more so in the church,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like being whole. I think that we don't talk about that enough.
No.
We don't.
absolutely.
We do not.
So
We do.
you guys, it's actually 1:00. And I, we
Really?
would like to stay longer. I know, right? Well, as we all know, again, our apologies. We started very late, way later than we had anticipated. And so with that being said, can you all stay on to 1:20, 1:30? We can continue the conversation because I want to get more, we would like to get more questions from the viewers. And if not, we are okay with that. And we'll keep, we'll end soon.
I could stay to 1:20. I could stay to 1:20. I got brunch afterwards.
Okay. So you will have a brunch with us? All right.
I wish.
So
Yeah, I'm down for
next
120
part-
as well.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good.
perfect. Trish, all right. So we kind of talked about this, but there's something called the H word that Trey and I just used. Which I think that is.
Horny.
Yes.
The haves and the have.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Look. Trey, look, child.
Somebody
So
hashtag that, please.
what are some practical things? And I've had this conversation several times with friends, so I can learn from it and then showing others what I've done. But like, I would like to hear from you all. Like, first one, let's say the word. There has been times that, guess what, we get horny. And I think a lot of people in church.
You just sounded like a second grade teacher just now.
Hi, class. Today we're going to talk about being horny. Yay!
Hey.
So Trey was vulnerable enough to talk about that on Instagram, and I thought that was really brave of you. But Trey is dope like that. Now, what do we do as individuals when we get horny? And I want to hear from the married people as well, because a lot of people think that, because you're married, like sex happens like this. So if you're horny, you can go to your spouse. But what if your spouse not interested? Or what if your spouse is not there? So with that being said, you know, what are the things that you do to prevent yourself from disobeying God? And what does it look like disobeying God sexually as a married person? So the first part is, what do you do when you're horny? And then the second part is, how does that look in marriage?
Good.
Wow.
Let the
Wow.
beat drop.
I was gonna say,
So
I think,
go ahead.
yeah, I think it, you know, like horniness in marriage just looks so different from like when you're single. You know, like, or when I was single. When I was single, if I was horny, then there were things I resorted to. I'm not necessarily going to disclose all of them, but like there were things that I resorted to, and I think if you use your imagination, you can figure it out. But now that in marriage, it's very different because, for instance, like my wife, just had a baby last year, and with that, she had to get a C-section, and we couldn't have sex, and for me, just in those moments, like of course, I got horny and everything like that, but the first person I'm thinking of is not someone else. I'm thinking of my wife, and then
Mhm.
from there, I'm thinking of not only just my wife, but the condition that she was in, and
Mhm.
how I have to care for her, and how I have to care for my son, and how I have to be there. So like sex became, instead of number one, it dropped significantly on the list for me. And so like it was just in me to just be a caretaker, and to make sure that both of them were good, and to just be there in love, instead of trying to get my rocks off, because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, it's like horniness essentially, although we do have desires that need to be met, horniness to me a lot of times can equate to selfishness, because it's just looking for me to be fulfilled physically, for me to get my desires off, instead of thinking of your responsibilities as a married man, I would say, you know. So in those moments, I had to resort to, you know, thinking first of my wife's condition.
Yep. Yep. And there's been several people that we've seen in media that has cheated on their wives during pregnancy, and
During those
just
times. Yeah.
and being a woman who just had a baby 4 months ago, like I could only imagine how difficult it would be to, one, be pregnant and then dealing with your husband cheating on you, Or I've heard of
Mm,
women who were pregnant cheating on their husbands or their boyfriends or whatever. So, it's not only one, I know it sounds crazy. It's not only one-sided,
nuts.
but at the end of the day, what do you do with your horniness? Are you going to use it for your selfish gain? And like you said, resolve, take care of it any means possible? Or if you're in marriage, I'm talking about, if your spouse is not ready to have sex for whatever reason, whether they're not there, or like you said, she's pregnant, or maybe he or she is sick, like there's so many different things. What do you do with that? Somebody has asked me that, and I've asked myself that, and I've asked God that. Is masturbation in marriage a sin?
Mm.
Something to think about, something to
Mm.
talk about. So I know I'm like layering it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it just depends on you and your spouse, right? Like what are you both okay with when it comes to your marriage bed? Um,
Mhm.
you know, the Bible is not explicit on that in terms of
Right.
like
Right.
in marriage and masturbation in marriage. But if you are in agreement with whatever you choose to do or not do, I think that's between you and your spouse for sure. Um, I was even gonna say just about like the horniness piece. I can't really speak because I don't get horny in marriage, and I guess I'm an anomaly. I know there's some women like me. There's a couple of women out there like me, but yeah, it's hard for me to even get to that space. My husband is the opposite, and so like having to work with his, when he's, in that space and I'm not, that is I have to like call on the Lord to help me get there. It's like it's a work that I have to do. So yeah, I'm a little different when it comes to that.
Can I just add one other thing to that? This ties back to the previous question about just about like our like relationship to sex and things of that nature. I've just read a comment from Valerie, and she said sex is to serve, not to be served. So I know like that to me is super real, because even for me, like getting married and finally having sex with my wife, it was difficult for me, and like that was the first time it was ever like sex ever became something that was difficult, like, but it was also the first time that I wasn't having sex as a tool to make me feel powerful. I approached it now with with the idea that I have to now serve my wife, because that's what you learn about what sex is, and how it relates more to servitude than anything else. Um, and so being in that position, it was very, very difficult now for me to even feel like I've arrived at any point. So now having a new relationship with sex um and becoming used to that position, and growing in that position, horniness now is different. Horniness is very different. It's like you can feel the urge and the desire, but you don't necessarily uh have to adhere to it at that moment. It's different. You can really like put it off. You could even forget about it sometimes.
Right, and that was the beauty of right, and the beauty of being this. But you're right. The beauty of being single and learning to abstain, that's when you learn that discipline as well. Going to God like, hey, I'm horny, God, what do I do? Like, let me lean on you for this, because when you're married, you cannot have sex all the time. And like Trisha said, when you have kids, it's different. When you're pregnant, it's different. And so with that being said, abstaining from sex is also, not that you're abstaining from sex in marriage, but the discipline and to learning from that also helps in your marriage as well. So Purvis and Trey, like, what do you say about that? Like, what would you say in your space now about being horny? What do you do? How do you continue to serve God and be in alignment with what He wants for you when that happens? Because I used to be in heat.
Man, I stay in heat.
Purvis, before you respond, please say "child." Thank you.
Child.
No, I stay in heat. But you know what though? I work out a lot. I achieve a lot. I do a lot of work. And that's how truly, that's how I work through it. Like I'm like, that's how I got in Forbes magazine. I I took all of that horniness and channeled it into something greater than myself. But I thought it was gonna slow down because I'm 40 now. That thing is picked up. If I'm honest, geez,
thank you.
The wind to blow, and I'm like, geez. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
hilarious.
Say it, Purvis. Say the thing.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I'm always ready to go. Always. So, it just is what it is. It's biological, right? And beyond the spiritual, it's biological. The body is designed to release. The body is designed to
Right.
enjoy sex and have fulfillment, right? As Trey was pointing out earlier, our bodies create relationships that our hearts and souls don't create, right? So I look at it and understand. I just have an understanding of it. Like my identity is not tied to body counts anymore. It's not tied to even performance, anything like that. So I just kind of have reconciled a lot of things. Like, God willing, I get married, hopefully I marry somebody that can match my libido.
Yes.
And that's the other thing.
Listen,
That's the other thing,
okay.
everyone's libido is the same.
Listen.
It don't be
Child.
All right. So let me talk about this thing right here. To be so completely honest with you guys, praying is definitely a real thing. And I think praying in full, like when as women know, you ovulate. And when you ovulate, you're like, your body is like on 0, zing. Okay. And so what I normally do is sometimes I'll, like, depending on the moment, I'll walk, I'll go running, I work out, I pray, I write in my journal. One of the things that I definitely make sure to do during that time is that's when I will specifically pray for my husband's libido, because I'm like, Lord,
Yes.
I'm ready, like, let's go. And so with that being said, Father, please, Lord, come on, Jesus. I know you gotta make sure he's ready to go too and can be like, I'm alert, Trey, let's go. Yes. Yes, Lord. So for me,
Somebody
that's
shout.
what it looks like. Like, no, but for me, I think we sometimes can very well over spiritualize the moment and be like, oh, you must do this, and this is a one size fits all situation. And it's like, nah, it's okay for me to be like, Lord, I want to make sure, like, Father, one of the things that I am asking you for is that he does not have ED, that he is like, he can stand up, he is alert, he's ready to go, he is like, yo, my wife is ready, I'm ready, we ready, let's go. Like, I do
Get him
pray
some
for
sea
that. I
moss.
think it's okay to do so.
Some
Because
sea moss.
if I huh?
He said,
Get him some sea moss.
Some sea moss.
Yeah. Hello.
Trey, can we
Okay.
get into
But
ED?
ultimately,
Can we get into ED?
we're gonna get into ED. But what I'm saying is, like, if I can say that to y'all, I need to be able to have said that to God too. Period.
Amen.
And that's the reality of our relationship. If I could openly share with other people, I need to know that I'm openly and vulnerably and transparently and honestly sharing with God the same way and more. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, yo, I need you to understand. Like, I know you know who I am. I know you created me this way. I'm in heat. I'm hella horny. I'm ready. I need to make sure I don't have too much male interaction at that time. Like, I also make sure I don't go around a lot of like single people whenever I'm like on high alert, because like when you have had a life of sex was validation to you, it doesn't, even if you're not having sex, the look can be validated to you.
What?
Right?
Say it again.
The vibe.
I saw her in the street and I was trying to talk to her. And even the, oh no, thank you, I'm not giving you my number, that can be a moment. You know what I'm saying? That could be a whole situation. And it's not even like a situation like, yo, I'm gonna give him my number. It's no, that added to the ego. That added to like, Yo, I already know I'm killing the game. Like, I'm out here. You was looking at me. You know, like, all of that could be the story. All, like, for real, all of that could be the story. And it's like, when you're horny, for me, like, limiting my interaction as much as I possibly can, because obviously there are times when you're like in heat and you outside and you just whatever. But if I can limit the interaction with people, then I really, I will. Because also keep in mind, we're outside, we seeing people. Well, I mean, we're not outside, but you know what I mean. Like, we're outside, like taking a walk or whatever, and you see people, and people are attractive. Like, you could see a man looking at you because you are attractive. You are beautiful. You are art. You were made by the artist himself. You know what I'm saying? So yes, of course, somebody's gonna look at you. But the thing is, how do you internalize that look?
Yes.
Especially when you're in the face of, yo, I'm horny. Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And then going from there, the question, so I did mention ED, and I think that's erectile dysfunction is a real thing. And I'm going to give you guys a quick story. I was talking with somebody that I know, and in reference to, getting there to a moment. She's not married or anything like that. Like, she's, just out here with a man, right? And so she's going to, like, they're getting together, and he is masturbating while they're like making out or whatever. And then she's like, when he got closer to me, like it just went down. And I was like, that's ED. And she was like, what are you even talking about? I was like, that's erectile dysfunction. What that means is, oftentimes and you have to, and I feel like women, we have to be graceful with this, because I think we're always like, no, he need to get up. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Stand up. I'm here. Like, you don't see me. I look mad good. I'm ready. Like, right. I get, like, we get that. But the reality is, you are potentially talking to somebody who's 30, let's say 30, right? Who's been masturbating and pleasing themselves with their own
porn
hand.
Watching.
And porn watching, right?
Porn is
since
the key
11.
thing. Yep.
So if I've been doing that since I was 11, now I see somebody and I'm in a relationship with that person, and I'm supposed to be alert. I don't really know how to allow a real life woman to turn me on. I only really know how to be turned on with my hand. Right. Yeah. So if you're not like that, could be a whole situation as to why he may be struggling. And as I'm telling you guys the story was not in a marital bed. The story was them having sex. Yeah. Like, you meet somebody having sex, but realistic,
that still happens.
The woman that man potentially marry, that would be the story. Yeah. Like, you're struggling
now,
to keep
my
up
question
and
is
stay
this,
up because you've always done that. I'll stop. Go ahead.
My question is this: is it ED or just maybe his lack of connection to her?
I was gonna say that.
Because I mean, I don't know, y'all.
That's what it could be.
It wasn't my situation.
I think it could be.
That's why y'all there to tell me.
Well, I was gonna say.
I think it was that. That was what I thought immediately.
I mean, I think if you're addicted to porn, when you're addicted to porn, it's hard to connect. Period. So it's probably, it could be a combination of both. He can't connect with a human person because he's been connecting with, a video for years and years and years.
Some really fast internet and videos.
Yeah.
And probably, and truthfully, that probably was the 4th time he was going to release that day, and he just didn't have any more in him. It could be that.
There you go.
That too.
So even if it's not ED per se, obviously there is a connection to, porn, masturbation, and as Trisha mentioned, the inability or the struggle that exists to connect to a real life person, apart from Purvis, what you mentioned of the fantasy, of the imagination.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real
So
thing. And in marriage,
so
it's an
someone
issue.
put right, and I was about to
Yeah.
say that someone put so that I'm reading the chat, and Victor, being silly and funny but true, he said porn and masturbation go hand in hand, pun intended. He's so funny, which is very true. Most times when people watch porn, and we gotta go because it's past 1:20, y'all.
Yeah.
When people watch porn, they usually masturbate and self-please. And once you
Yeah.
say you actually have a relationship with Jesus and you're not, and that's an issue for you, and you get married, that really can affect your marriage bed. Because you're expecting
Absolutely.
your wife or you're expecting your husband to perform the way that you've seen actors perform,
it.
because they are acting,
Yeah.
y'all. These people,
Absolutely.
maybe they're getting off sometimes, but most of the
They
time they're
do like
acting. And so
there's a lot of takes that they gotta do.
I'm
It's
sure,
not real.
it's not real. And so
Not
we're putting all these expectations on, if you're whoever you're having sex with, and it's very unhealthy. It's extremely unhealthy. Or like Tracy said, or and Wendell said, you're not connecting. You're not connecting with the person you're supposed to be with. Like was said earlier, marriage, sex, the way it's supposed to be is to connect and bring those two individuals together. So it has been distorted, and that's the reason why we have this particular event. What does Jesus say about love? What does he say about sex? And I say that to say we actually got to wrap up. We got to wrap up. If there's because it's already 1:23, I would love to keep you all on, but I want to respect your time. Trey and I want to respect your time. If there's anything else, Trey, that you would like to say before we get into the ending that we planned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay. With that being said, we want to.
No, so that there actually is. So the point is that we want to make sure that as we're talking about this conversation, that we are steering into how Jesus informs the decisions that are made when we're talking about both love and sex. And so, yeah, so that is definitely just the one, last piece that we wanted to just make sure to add.
Absolutely.
Apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So last year, one of our good friends, Marsha, said, y'all, I just feel like this should be a conference. And she said it before she came to the event. Just now, another friend of ours, Janelle, said, this needs to be an all-day conference next time. We agree, Janelle. We agree, Marsha. And so with that being said, we would love to have this next year as a conference. So keep us in prayer, y'all.
Yes.
Help us to just keep it in prayer, because we would love to have the sponsorship and the space and the brunch, okay, to have it the whole day. And so
with mimosas, right?
What mimosas, the whole setup.
With real mimosas, not
with real mimosas.
Real mimosas.
Listen,
not
this
mock.
is H2O in here, okay? So with that being said, y'all, we want to just share who Jesus is. We want to make sure that you understand that he loves you. Like, it's not something that we just say. He really loves you, and he loves you just the way you are at this moment. And he loved you, and he had you in mind when he decided to say, hey, they need me. We are as human beings, we are born into sin. We're born into sin, and we cannot do anything with sin. And so therefore, he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to come down on this earth to pay the penalty for sin that we could not pay. Now, the thing that we have to do is we have to accept him. We have to say, okay, Jesus, we want to be in a relationship with you. With that relationship comes that covering of the penalty of sin. I'm telling y'all, whoever doesn't have a relationship with Jesus, this is coming out of love. You don't want to pay the penalty of sin on your own. Let Jesus do that, because he already did it. So with that being said, we would love for you to start a relationship with him. It is not us that compel. This is a fly in my face. That's so funny. The enemy is so crazy. We don't want to end this without telling you who he is, because that's the reason why we're doing this. As you can see, Jesus is the first on the list. And he's not only first
Yeah.
because of order, but he's first because of the strength that he has, the weight that he holds. He's first, center, in between, around, center. He's, it's about him. It's about him. It's about him. And so with that being said, y'all, please let us know in the chat. And you can email us lifewithtrey, TRAYANDJEA @gmail.com. We would love to talk to you about getting a relationship with Jesus. You can inbox us on Instagram. We would love to talk to you about having a relationship with Jesus, because that is the most important thing. So if there's anything else.
No, I was just going to say the reality is our relationship with Jesus is what informs our lives, and the way that we move, the reasons that we do things, how we do things. So yeah, of course, just kind of going back to what Janelle said about Jesus being at the top. It's not just because Jesus is just Jesus. It's like legitimately Jesus, and then you can get into the rest of things in life. And he's consistently informing all the areas that occur in our lives, centrally, primarily. So yeah,
Absolutely. Amen.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, please, we have your emails. We are going to be sending you all a scripture bank. We created a scripture bank to go according to what it is that we've talked through today. So we will be sending that to you guys. And we thank you so much for your donations. We thank you so much for believing in this. We also thank you so much for staying through, because earlier when this all started, we were about to cry. Okay. So I do want to say thank you guys so very much. Like, your support, your encouragement, your prayers, all of those things really matter. All of those things, we really experience it, and it really fills us up. So thank you.
Yes, and we thank Purvis and Wendell and Trisha and Ed. He's like
and
the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes. Thank you, Tisha, for allowing us to work with your husband and all these times, because I know you guys just came from vacation and then you're probably tired. But thank you so much. So thank you all for being a part of this.
Crystal Lee, thank you so much for being our moderator. Like 2 years in a row, legitimately working with us and moderating the chat and letting us know what questions we're supposed to be asking next based on the feedback of the chat. Thank you guys so much. And to the people that we reached out to be like, yo, pray, because this is freaking us out. Thank you for actually praying. And thank you for keeping this in prayer. Thank you for keeping us in prayer. Trisha, Wendell, Purvis, Ed, like,
love you all.
All of y'all killed the game. Thank you. And before we leave, as per usual, I have to say, I am so proud of us. I just have to say that. I am so proud of us for going through this, because I need y'all to understand this whole thing is a answered prayer. And I'm not gonna stop there, because I could already feel the tears coming. And I said I'm not gonna do that on today. But with that being said, this has been great. I just really want to say, Trey, I love you, and Janelle, I love you. Like, we did it, and this is great. And hugs all around.
So, and Trey and I can talk. And one last thing, if we would love to continue this conversation, so please interact with us on our Instagram page. We are on Facebook. As you now know, we're on YouTube. We've been on YouTube for a while. Please check out all of our videos. We've made, I think we have about 16 or 17, even up to like 20 episodes. So check them out. Check out our podcast. We want to continue these conversations. We want to talk about Jesus. We want to clarify your understanding of who it is, or who Jesus is, and how, like Trey said, how he can really truly really permeate and change your whole entire life, your love life, your sex life, your money. There's any aspect of your life. So yeah, I think I'm good.
And I just have one last thing. I have one quick thing to add. So just so whoever's watching, I am dating So what that means is if you have a friend and you would like to hook up your friend with me and he loves Jesus, like in real life, you can definitely plug me in. That's all I'm saying.
That's hilarious, but she's right. Hook a sister up. All right, y'all. We love y'all. Have a great day. And yes, thank you so much for being on.
All
Enjoy
right.
the rest of your day.
Bye, y'all.